We have a rare and amazing treat for viewers today. Ole Dammegard has been delayed, but will be joining us in 30 minutes on the sponsor-exclusive show. We have an amazing guest today. We have Beverly Oliver, eyewitness to the JFK assassination, the alleged Babushka Lady. Beverly, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's good to be with you.
And it's lovely to finally meet you. I've read so much about you. I've seen interviews throughout the years about how so many people want to deny that you were the Babushka Lady, that you were there with a prototype 8mm film camera and taking a film that might in fact reveal who actually killed JFK. But why don't you give everybody a quick background on the circumstance and everything that's happened?
Well, I was working at the Colony Club, which was next door to Jack Ruby's Carousel Club. But a lot of people say that I was working for Jack. No, Jack was a friend of mine, but I never worked for him, was never on his payroll. I did do a few after-hours parties that he had in his club for his friends. I bartended and stuff for him. But I was never on his payroll. I worked for Abe Weinstein at the Colony Club. And I was trying to figure out, where I was politically. And I was enamored with the Kennedys, like I think most young people were at that point in time. So I had planned on going to see the parade that morning. And I did. And I walked from my parking lot next door to the Colony Club. I didn't intend to go down to Dealey Plaza that morning, but there was such a crowd in Dallas that day. And I had to walk and walk and walk and walk because I wanted to get up to the curb where I could get a film with my brand new camera that the man I was dating at the time, who worked for Eastman Kodak in Rochester, New York, that he was managing the store at Six Flags, where I had just worked for the second season, part of it, and then went to work for Abe Weinstein. And he had given me this camera, and I wanted to get up close and get a picture, get a film of the motorcade. And so I had to walk that far to be able to get up to the car. That's how many people were down there that day. Mm-hmm. And so I was so excited because they were people born in my generation. So I go down and I get there, and when I get into Dealey Plaza, it was just electricity like you could not believe. It made the hair stand up on the back of your neck. And I took my camera out of the bag that I had put it in out of the trunk of my car. It had been misting that day, and it was kind of chilly. And so I put my all-weather coat on to go down there, and I always wore a scarf back then because I worked every night at the Colony Club. And I go down to walk till I found a place to get up to the curb, and it just so happened to be at Dealey Plaza at the end of the route. And I took my camera out, and I started making sure my camera was in working order. I took film of the crowd and the people and the buildings and just whatever. I don't know how long it was. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything else. I wasn't keeping count. I was just taking random film of it. Mm-hmm. And you could tell when the president got closer because the crowd was yelling and screaming, and it was just, it was magical almost. And I'm standing there, and when they turned onto off of Main Street onto Houston, it was just, I can't explain it. I don't have the words in my vocabulary to explain it.
And I know Beverly, I know Ole is going to have a ton of questions for you. He'll be joining us at 11:30 when we transition over to our sponsor exclusive shows. For people who are just joining us, we're speaking with Beverly Oliver, who is very well known and famous eyewitness to the JFK assassination. Beverly, at the age of 17 at the time, is that right, Beverly?
Yes. Yes.
So it's amazing you were driving around. I mean, we picture a 17-year-old today as essentially a child, but you were driving around, you had a job, you were becoming political, and you decided to go to the parade. Now, this the camera, the Kodak camera that you used has been a point of contention for many people.
Yashica.
Oh, sorry, Yashica.
It was a Yashica.
but the guy worked for Kodak, so he had a prototype from Yashica because there must have been a tight relationship between camera manufacturers and Kodak, the film manufacturer at that time. This was one of the first points that people tried to refute, to try to debunk your claims that you are and were the Babushka Lady. But you pointed out that it was a prototype, and sure enough, that camera model came out to the public shortly after, right?
Yes, Yashica sent me the information as to when it was made public was in 1965. It was made public to be for sale for the public. And, I don't know what people's problem is. It's not like I can solve the assassination or anything. And I didn't, jump into the middle of this. I was drugged into it, kicking and screaming. I never wanted to be a part of it. And for 56 years now, no one has claimed to be me but me. I've dug up the shoes I had on in the close-up films of my feet that day.
Wow.
And so finally, it used to really bother me, Jason, for years. It really hurt my feelings because I pride myself in being who I am and honest, and I try to tell the truth. I never intentionally tell a fib about anything. But anymore. I am who I am. I know who I am. I know where I was that day. But more importantly, God knows who I am, and God knows where I was that day. So
Right.
it doesn't bother me anymore. I have a book out called Not Me in Dallas, which tells my story as it is, as it was, and as it always will be.
Mm-hmm. I'm so pleased to hear you say that, Beverly. I mean, it's amazing to see the articles that are out that, I mean, even on Wikipedia today, it tries to cast doubt over your claims. It's amazing how desperately they work to cover this up. They just don't want people to know what actually went on that day. I have so many questions for you, but I want to wait until Ole joins us before we really get into them. And people are going to be able to join us on patreon.com/Light On Conspiracies and patreon.com/Crowdsource the Truth. But Beverly, there have been so many shocking events since the JFK assassination. And as a young woman of only 17, you must have been personally quite shocked. First of all, you witnessed a murder, which most people never do. You were only feet away. I imagine it must be traumatic to recall, but it's been so many years. Do you talk about the details of what you saw as the president was shot?
You mean in general conversation?
Well, I mean, to somebody like me who's asking about it.
If people ask me about it, yes, I will, because I think it's important for people to know. Because people, when people witness things, there can be two people standing next to each other and see different things.
Yes.
I don't know why the brain does that, but it just does that. But I'm not accountable for what Jean Hill saw and what Mary Mormon saw. I'm only accountable for what I saw. And I'm not accountable for making it fit into somebody's theory. And that's one of the problems that a lot of people have with me, is that I will not change my story. And I do not try to make it fit into people's theories. I just don't. I know what I saw, and that's what I saw. And, when these people like on Wikipedia and stuff like that, that try to disparage my story, they forget, I say forget laughingly, to tell the fact that I have in my documents a document from the FBI that says the film which was taken, not claimed to have been, not supposedly to have been, the film which was taken by Beverly Oliver was not retained by this office.
And to clarify for people who may not be familiar, you were approached by someone almost immediately after the incident who offered politely to develop the film for you, and then you never saw it again, correct?
Actually, it was Monday night when I went back to work. I couldn't go to work because I was so blown away. And I was staying drugged and kept myself knocked out. I woke up on Sunday morning to I still to this day sleep with my television on. It's on right now, but I just have it turned down. My television's on 24/7, 365.
Wow.
And I woke up and I see the president, Walter Cronkite, saying that, they'd arrested whatever. And I saw Oswald being shot in the basement of the police station.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking I'm living a nightmare. So I go back to sleep. I'm thinking this is it. I went back to sleep. And finally on Monday, my mother, who finally had some sense, she made me get up. She said, "You're not going to stay back here and just die. You're not going to do that. You're getting up and you're going to work."
Yeah. And what did you think when
And
you
I
saw Lee
did.
Harvey Oswald shot on television in the police station? Seems improbable, doesn't it?
Well, yes, it does, because you see, that's another part of the story that people try to debunk, and that I wasn't the only one that saw it. I was introduced to Lee Harvey Oswald 2 to 3 weeks prior to the assassination by Jack Ruby
Wow.
at his club. When I went over to tell Jada that I wasn't going to be able to go out to the Alabama that night after the clubs closed, there was a club called the Alabama that was open until like 4 o'clock in the morning with a dance band, and Oliver would go out afterwards and have a few drinks, and of course I couldn't drink, but I could go dancing.
Right.
And I went out over there to tell her that I couldn't go, and I saw Jack and Java sitting at what we used to call the runway table, and I went up there, and because the spotlight, so I know who I saw because the spotlight was shining on the table because it was right at the edge of the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went up, and there was an empty seat between Jada and Jack, and he stood up. The Jack Ruby I knew was a gentleman. Now, he had problems with guys, but he wasn't rude and nasty to women like people say he was. And he stood up, and he pulled my chair out, and he referenced the man on his left, and he said, "By the way, Beverly, this is my friend Lee Oswald. He's with the CIA." At
Wow.
17, I did not know what the CIA was.
Sure.
At soon to be 74, I don't know what the CIA is still.
Right.
And he just kind of mumbled something. I don't know what he said. And he sat down and watched the girls. That's what he was there for. And so I stayed, I don't know how long, it wasn't very long, and I left to go home. Our show, Jack's show was the last show to close down. So I had already finished my job, and I went home. And so when I saw that, and people have tried to tell me, no, it wasn't him. It was Larry Crayford. No, Larry Crayford had a tooth missing in the front. It wasn't. It was Lee Harvey Oswald. Or at least it was the man who was killed in the basement that Sunday morning. And then people tried to tell, this is something else too, Jason. I don't even know if OA knows this yet. But people tried to say that the Colony Club wasn't closed that night. Well, I have somewhat, one of the researchers sent me photos the other day that he found in the archives that a newsman took, a newspaper guy took of my picture out there, and then it has a picture of the door of the Colony Club, and it has a big sign that says closed. So, yeah, and the stuff that's going on right now, you can always find some little smidgen of something good and everything bad. Well, the crud that's going on right now, I feel a tad vindicated because people are finding out right now that that deep state, I didn't call it a deep state, but it exists now. It existed then.
Right.
And the same coup d'etat that started in 1963 is still continuing today. I just hope it has a different ending.
I absolutely agree with you, Beverly. It's astounding. And there's just so much information that you have about this that so many people have been working for so long to suppress. I want to ask you some questions about events that perhaps don't have direct connections to JFK, but as you've described to us, as a young woman of 17 watching television there in your home in Dallas after this occurred, you were in a state of shock, and then seeing Lee Harvey Oswald, I mean, you've just described to us these sort of fractured memories of that strung together, And it's interesting how it has that kind of traumatic effect. I'm thinking, of course, of things like 9/11, the Columbine shooting, this coronavirus outbreak. To what extent, and I know I'm asking you your opinion on this, this is not a matter of fact, but do you feel that these events share any similarities with the JFK assassination, either the news reporting or the gravity of them, or perhaps the involvement of the deep state?
Well, I don't really know, Jason, because I'm very hugely patriotic. I love my country. I don't love the people running my country right now. Now, let me take that back. I am a huge Trump supporter. Huge. I think he's the best thing that's happened since JFK.
I agree with you.
And but I don't like the things that's happened since JFK, and I'm sure that JFK was not the beginning of it. They were hoping it would be the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
I don't know how to answer your question. The coronavirus stuff scares the mud out of me because I have a daughter with 4 transplants. And they get up on television and say, oh, it's just, all you have to do is wash your hands. Don't touch your face. No, I know about viruses because I have a daughter who's had 3 of her transplants because she came down with acute, gosh, I can't think of what it's called right now, but because of an infection that's not supposed to be dangerous.
Wow. And do you think, I'm sorry to ask you if this is a personal question, feel free to decline, but do you think that perhaps something happened to your daughter as a result of your status as an eyewitness in the JFK assassination?
No, my son who died back in 1977, 2 months after I gave testimony to the House Select Committee, and I was told if I did that something would happen to me that I'd regret the rest of my life. So I did for a long time. I thought that they had killed my baby. He died 2 months and 26 days old, and he was a 10-pound, 4-ounce baby boy.
Oh my God! I'm so sorry.
It almost killed me, but it was a very rare genetic disorder called primary hyperoxaluria. We didn't know it then. It took me getting pregnant again and having a child born with the same very rare genetic disorder for us to understand that. So,
Beverly,
no, with her,
sorry.
I've had no.
We almost lost you there.
No, as a matter of fact, when she was 6 months old at the University of Minnesota, January 28, 1982, for the first time in medical history, they took my kidney and put in my 6-month-old baby.
Whoa.
And she'll be 39 in July.
Wow. That's an amazing story. I've never heard that about you before. Thank you for sharing that, Beverly. I'm sorry you've had to have all that trauma in your life. So we're speaking with Beverly. Sorry that I missed that.
And by the way,
Beverly, you there?
Hello?
We've had some weird interference on this phone call. Beverly, what we're going to do right now, and thank you for sharing those stories, amazing, and I'm so sorry you've had to deal with those personal tragedies. We're going to be getting even more in depth with Beverly Oliver. In just about 10 minutes, we're going to reconnect with Ole Dammegard, and we will be live on Patreon and Subscribestar. Viewers can watch us on patreon.com/Light On Conspiracies, patreon.com/Crowdsource the Truth, and subscribestar.com/Crowdsource the Truth. Beverly Oliver is our guest. She is one of the last remaining eyewitnesses to the JFK assassination. She's written a book called Nightmare in Dallas that people can purchase from Amazon.com or perhaps any other book reseller if you don't want to finance the CIA. Beverly will be answering all kinds of questions for us and will be joined by Ole in just a few minutes, so I hope that people will join us over there. Beverly, Hang tight, and we'll be right back in just a few. Thank you so much for joining us. Are you still there? Okay, we're going to reconnect with Beverly. Thanks. Okay, great. Wonderful. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on Subscribe Star and Patreon.